And finally, after several minutes, this 40-year-old woman says she has turned into a 35,000-year-old man.
There he met, listen to me closely now, there he met some extraterrestrials in their spaceship.
Is this a cult? Definitely not.
You talk to your kids about drugs and alcohol, but you never think to coach your kids on a cult.
My friends, cults are not a thing of the past. They are part of the present. Some of the worst cults have evolved with the times. They still recruit followers, silence doubters, and continue their creepy rituals. In this video, we'll explore terrifying cults still operating today. We'll begin with the strange ones and save the worst for last. So as you guys can probably hear right now, I'm pretty sick, but the show must go on. I would hate to miss a weekly upload for you guys, so it would mean the world if you subscribe to keep us growing. I'm visualventure, and you are awesome. The Raelian Movement. The Raelian Movement is a global cult. It has 130,000 members across 120 countries. And every member believes the same thing, that aliens created all life on Earth. But that's only part of the story. Their main goal is to build an embassy to welcome those aliens back to Earth. It sounds strange, but they believe all this because of something that happened 50 years ago. The cult started with a man named Claude Vorilhon. He had a long list of failures. Claude tried to make it as a musician and failed. Then he tried to become a race car driver and failed again, but his life changed on December 13th, 1973. That day, Claude allegedly saw an alien in a park in France.
There he met, listen to me closely now, there he met some extraterrestrials in their spaceship.
According to him, a flying saucer landed in the field. A small alien stepped out. It looked human, but it had green skin and a goatee beard. But the real shock wasn't how the alien looked. It was what it said. The alien told Claude that it was one of the Elohim. They were a race of advanced beings who lived on a perfect planet where the most intelligent are in charge. They've mastered genetic modification. They live 10 times longer than humans. An alien claimed they created humans.
And in these laboratories, thanks to DNA and genetic combination, they created all life on Earth. It means trees, animals, and men.
Since that creation, the Elohim have been watching humanity from afar. One day, they would return to Earth. But first, humans needed to build them an embassy. Here's what the alien embassy is supposed to look like.
It's his ambition to build the structure shown in this model near Jerusalem. Its purpose? To welcome the alien race.
When the embassy is complete, the Elohim would come back to reveal their scientific knowledge to humanity. But how did Claude fit into their plans? The alien made Claude Elohim's prophet on Earth. He was ordered to spread their message and build their embassy. The alien even gave him a new name, Rael. When Claude returned home, he started telling everyone about the aliens. Interestingly, they listened. He also held conferences about his experience. His first conference attracted 2,000 people.
Most of these people were obsessed with UFOs and wanted to know more about the Elohim, and a few of these people actually believed every word.
In 1976, Claude, now called Rael, founded the Raelian Movement. He traveled the world recruiting members. By 1995, the movement had about 40,000 members across 85 countries. Every member was required to donate 10% of their income. The money was to finance the construction of an embassy for the Elohim. But Raelism wasn't just about aliens. It promoted ideas that seemed progressive. The cult supported equality for all. They also believed in using science to improve life on Earth. But the most controversial belief was about human cloning, and the Raelians were determined to do it.
I was the first on the Earth to say human cloning is coming very soon.
In 1997, the cult formed a company called Clonaid. Its goal was simple: create the first human clone.
Now we have 3 scientists working almost full-time in a lab here in the United States.
Their scientists worked long and hard. Then in 2002, Clonaid made a huge announcement. They claimed they successfully cloned a human. Clonaid shared almost no details about their supposed clone. The main thing they said was that a 31-year-old woman donated her DNA for the cloning process. And the baby, the first human clone, was named Eve. Obviously, the news made headlines, but the reaction wasn't all positive. Many hated the idea of human clones.
There's so many disastrous things that can come about from somebody doing this with a bad motive.
People demanded proof, but Clonaid was very secretive. They refused to say where the clone baby was born, identify her parents, or even provide a picture. Still, the Raelians celebrated. To them, their scientists did exactly what the Elohim did, create human life in a laboratory. Over the next few years, Clonaid claimed to have created dozens more human clones, but again, they provided no evidence. Despite the controversy, the Raelian movement kept expanding. Today, it has a surprising 130,000 followers worldwide. They're still working on building that alien embassy. Claude, aka Rael, is still their leader. He claims he has visited the Elohim's planet in outer space. And there, Jesus, Moses, Muhammad, and other prophets continue to live through human cloning. The members of this next cult were literally hypnotized by their leader. Buddhafield. People thought they were signing up for acting classes. Instead, they accidentally joined a cult. And the cult leader was their charismatic acting coach, Michel Rostand. Michel always wanted to be famous. He was obsessed. He tried to make it as an actor in Hollywood, but his career never took off. To pay the bills, he started teaching acting in Florida. But during those classes, things took a strange turn. Michel began slipping in ideas about philosophy and meditation. He spoke about a mysterious guru who led him to a great spiritual awakening. His students were fascinated.
I think he soon realized that he was having more success kind of channeling that spiritual side of him than the acting side of him.
But there was no evidence that Michel ever had a guru. Some thought he was just making up stories. But his students were young and impressionable, so they ate it all up. By the mid-1980s, Michel rebranded. He was now a spiritual guru with superpowers.
He was Michel, a self-proclaimed enlightened being who claimed to transmit divine energy.
His acting students became his disciples. Together, they formed a new movement. They called their group Buddhafield. Not long after starting the cult, Michel moved back to West Hollywood. His followers went with him. They rented homes near each other and lived like one big family.
We were together 24/7. We lived together. We ate together, played together. Everybody that I knew was in the Buddhafield.
Everyone contributed money to support the group. Everyone except for Michel and his inner circle. They didn't work. They didn't have jobs. It was the lower levels that funded Michel and his inner circle. Michel didn't lift a finger. His followers bathed him, massaged him, and cooked his meals. Sometimes they even tucked him into bed at night. To outsiders, it looked like exploitation, but Michel convinced his followers that serving him was necessary for their spiritual growth. And they believed him because he was hypnotizing them. Every weekend, Michel held private cleansing sessions with each follower. Each cost $50. Followers said they felt lighter afterward. Some even claimed they were healed. They thought it was because Michel had divine powers. But the truth was far more scientific. Michel was actually a licensed hypnotherapist, but he hid that fact from everyone. He wasn't performing miracles during these sessions. He was hypnotizing his followers. But he used hypnosis for another, darker purpose. He made them drop all defenses and confess their most private thoughts.
I divulged every secret, every thought, every fear.
Michel used those secrets to control them. He dictated who they could love, who they could trust, and who they had to cut off. Romantic relationships were forbidden. Friendships outside the cult were banned. Leaving Buddhafield was considered betrayal. Soon, their world became small. The only place that felt safe was inside the cult. In 1993, the FBI raided a compound of a different cult in Waco, Texas. During the clash with law enforcement, dozens lost their lives. Cult members who resisted were arrested. Michel was terrified when he heard the news. He believed the government would target Buddhafield next. His paranoia took over. He ordered his followers to hide their lives from their families. He planted spies to monitor anyone who tried to leave. He even broke into former members' homes to destroy evidence. Then, at the height of his fear, his secret came out. For nearly 20 years, Michel's followers believed he was divine. That illusion shattered in 2006. A former follower found out about Michel's hypnotherapy license. Then they sent an email to Buddhafield members. The message exposed everything. The supernatural experiences were actually hypnosis. Michel's powers were a lie. The email split the cult in half. Some refused to accept it. Others finally saw the manipulation. Many left. A few remained loyal. After the scandal, Michel wanted a fresh start, so he moved to Hawaii with his most loyal followers. He still runs Buddhafield in Hawaii today. His next cult believes in lizard people. Ramtha School of Enlightenment. This cult became famous for one bizarre reason. Its founder claimed she was channeling the spirit of a 35,000-year-old warrior. That ancient warrior was called Ramtha, and the woman channeling him was Judy Zebra Knight. Knight said the spirit first contacted her in 1977. She was at home in Washington when a glowing figure appeared.
I thought I was seeing things because I had tears in my eyes, and I wiped the tears away, and here stood this entity at 2:30 in the afternoon in my kitchen.
That glowing figure introduced himself as Ramtha, the Enlightened One. He said he possessed ancient wisdom and the secret to happiness. Ramtha supposedly taught Knight how to leave her body and channel him. That meant Ramtha could take over her body and speak through her. Knight would enter a trance, then her voice would become deep and masculine.
And finally, after several minutes, this 40-year-old woman says she has turned into a 35,000-year-old man.
Knight began channeling Ramtha publicly in 1978. Through her, Ramtha preached every human was their own god. Ramtha also said people could shape reality and heal themselves with their minds.
Is it possible to have mind over matter? Baby, the brain is king. The body is the kingdom.
It was a message people wanted to believe. By 1988, Knight had thousands of devoted followers. That year, she opened the Ramtha School of Enlightenment. The school offered classes and retreats. A single class cost around $400, but retreats could cost as much as $1,500. Many followers moved near the campus to be close to their teacher. The school became a multi-million-dollar business. But as the school grew, Ramtha's teachings became troubling. Through Knight, Ramtha started making frightening prophecies.
He has a ton of predictions and beliefs about the New World Order, viruses, vaccines, plagues, and natural disasters.
One time, she predicted a massive flood was coming. She told followers to move inland.
One should leave that which is called the beaches and seek higher ground.
Over 1,500 people obeyed. They abandoned their homes and relocated inland. That shows how much control she had over her followers. There were more bizarre teachings. She spoke about lizard people living inside mountains. She warned that anyone who left the cult might be eaten by the lizard people. Outsiders believed she was manipulating gullible followers. They accused her of being a spiritual predator. There were also allegations that Knight's teachings made some of her members lose their lives. For instance, several followers had serious medical conditions. Instead of sending them to hospitals, Knight claimed Ramtha could heal them. She hugged them, spoke comforting words, and declared them cured. Many were never healed. They passed away.
This lady went home from there, died of pneumonia.
Today, Jay-Z Knight is in her 70s. She still channels Ramtha at her Washington compound. The Ramtha School of Enlightenment now has branches in more than 35 countries. This next cult also promised healing, but just gave lies. Universal medicine. The universal medicine cult began in the most unlikely place, a bathroom. In September 1999, Serge Benhayan was relieving himself. Suddenly, he had a spiritual revelation.
And I just gave myself a time to sit and feel that moment. And I could feel something really, really beautiful.
Serge never fully explained what that revelation actually was, but it inspired him to start Universal Medicine in Australia. The group was marketed as a healing center, but critics called it something else, a socially dangerous and socially harmful cult. And once you hear Serge's teachings, you'll understand why. He preached that people born with disabilities were being punished or being dictators in a past life.
They are former incarnates of corrupted politicians, corrupt generals, army people, dictators.
Serge also warned that certain foods carried dark energy that poisoned the body. Foods like cinnamon, potatoes, and carrots. Eating them allowed evil forces to enter the body and cause disease. But there was one way to get rid of that energy: burping. In other words, people would literally burp their way to healing.
She started burping all over the place, going bleh, bleh. And after a while, we said, "What on earth are you doing?" And she said, "I'm getting rid of evil spirits."
Universal Medicine also sold teas, herbal elixirs, and creams that supposedly helped with this cleansing. To people desperate for healing, Serge was a savior. Thousands joined his movement. They attended retreats, bought his products, and built their lives around his teachings. Many swore they felt better.
I wouldn't keep paying if I didn't feel that I was getting something out of it. He just had a really refreshing take on things, and he just seemed really down to earth.
Before long, Universal Medicine became a multi-million-dollar empire. But Serge had other commands for his followers, and those were far more controversial than burping rituals. Serge allegedly encouraged followers to cut ties with their families. Their new family was the universal medicine community. When someone challenged the cult, they were told they would have a baby with Down syndrome as karma for judging others. The cult also targeted people on their deathbeds. According to reports, terminally ill followers were told not to leave their money to their kids. If they did, their kidney energy would be damaged in the next life. Instead, they had to leave their inheritance to the cult, and many obeyed. One woman left Serge $1.4 million when she passed. Her family sued Universal Medicine, fighting to get the money back. For years, these stories stayed below the radar. Universal Medicine operated quietly in the shadows, until one woman decided to expose them. Esther Rocket was a journalist. She heard about Universal Medicine, and in 2005, she decided to experience it for herself. Esther attended one of their group healing sessions. What she saw horrified her.
He had about 60 people in this room on treatment tables, and he closed all the curtains so that it was completely dark.
During the session, people screamed and cried as if they were possessed. Esther was convinced something was deeply wrong with the group.
I thought again about going to the police, but what do you tell them? This guy's doing exorcisms on people.
So Esther spent the next few years investigating Universal Medicine. She posted everything she discovered on her blog, and every story was darker than the last. There were cases of emotional abuse, inheritance manipulation, and disturbing healing practices. Esther published it all, but Universal Medicine didn't appreciate the bad publicity. So in 2015, they sued Esther for defamation. It totally backfired. During the trial, the court reviewed Esther's evidence. They heard testimonies from former members of the cult. The court sided with Esther. They declared Universal Medicine a socially harmful cult. The jury also said that Serge used manipulation to make money and vilified people with disabilities. Universal Medicine was ordered to pay Esther Rocket $1.2 million in damages. Despite the verdict, Serge wasn't criminally charged. Today, Universal Medicine still operates in Australia. They still hold retreats, sell healing products, and teach people to burp away evil spirits. Up next is a cult so extreme, some members ended up behind bars. The Remnant Fellowship. This cult started out as a weight loss program. In 1986, Gwen Shamblin launched the Weight Down Workshop. It was a 12-week fitness program sold on videotape. But it wasn't your regular diet plan. Gwen added a twist. She mixed fitness and dieting with religion. According to Gwen, weight issues weren't just about food, they were about faith. In her eyes, being overweight meant you didn't trust God enough.
Gwen started touting the message that God told her people weren't consistently losing weight because they weren't being faithful to him.
The Weight Down Workshop was hardcore. Followers were told to eat only 10 bites of food a day. If they didn't lose 2 pounds daily, Gwen told them to stop eating altogether. Some followers claimed it worked.
God has removed 156 pounds from my body.
I've lost a total of 96 pounds.
The results made people believe. The movement became popular.
By 1997, Weight Down Workshops spread to over 30,000 weekly meetings in 70 countries.
Gwen became a celebrity. She appeared on talk shows and was praised as a Christian weight loss guru. No one realized her diet plan was about to evolve into a cult. In 1999, Gwen bought a massive piece of land in Brentwood, Tennessee. There, she founded the Remnant Fellowship. What happened next seemed very calculated. Since she had all that land, Gwen invited her Weight Down followers to join her on the property. They were forming a new community. She also had multiple businesses under the Remnant name. There was a real estate agency, a construction firm, a school, and more. These companies needed employees, so Gwen offered her followers jobs. Now they could live, work, and worship together, all under Gwen's control. Dozens of families moved in. Over time, more than 2,000 members lived on or near the Remnant property. It felt like a beautiful community, but soon things began to change, and not in a good way. Gwen's focus shifted from weight loss to total control. She dictated nearly every aspect of her followers' lives, and it was easy because they lived and worked on her property. Soon, leaving the cult meant losing everything.
If a member were to leave, not only would they lose their community, but most likely their livelihood as well.
Even more disturbing were Gwen's teachings about parenting. She encouraged strict discipline with harsh punishments, but that advice resulted in tragedy. In October 2003, a couple from Atlanta, Georgia took discipline a little far. Their son didn't survive. The tragedy made national headlines. The parents were sentenced to 30 years in prison. They were loyal members of the Remnant Fellowship. After their arrest, Gwen even helped pay for their lawyers. Many called for Gwen to be charged too. They said her toxic parenting advice caused the tragedy. To make matters worse, the Remnant Fellowship was identified as a cult by some cult experts. But police said they couldn't find a link between the incident and the church's teachings about punishment. Without direct evidence, Gwen walked free. She continued to lead the fellowship. Over the years, she built enormous wealth and power. But in May 2021, tragedy struck again, this time at the top.
So the private plane crashed into a lake near Nashville on Saturday. All 7 people on board presumed dead.
Gwen lost her life in a plane crash. She was with her husband and 5 others. Many expected the fellowship to collapse without her, but it didn't. Today, the Remnant Fellowship still operates from the same Brentwood property. Gwen's children now lead it, continuing her legacy. This next cult started their own country. Swami Nityananda. Swami Nityananda wasn't an ordinary cult leader. His followers believed he could create jewels out of thin air. Some even called him a living god, but this so-called god couldn't control his impulses, and soon his entire empire collapsed. In 2003, Swami built a massive spiritual retreat in India. It became famous for one reason: Swami's supernatural powers.
Over the years, he claimed several miraculous superpowers, including ones which allowed him to help the blind see.
People swore Swami healed their illnesses. Others said he performed miracles. Swami himself said he once delayed the sunrise by 40 minutes. Each story made him more famous. Swami also claimed he could teleport.
I felt alive with the whole cosmos.
His claims spread across India and beyond. Soon, Swami had 1,000 retreats in 33 countries. Tens of thousands of followers hung on his every word. To them, Swami wasn't just a spiritual leader, he was divine. Little did they know, Swami was about to become a fugitive from the law. In 2010, Swami's empire began to fall apart. A woman from his retreat accused him of being inappropriate with her. Swami was arrested, then released on bail. More women came forward. Some described inappropriate behavior. Others said they were kept in his retreats against their will. There were even stories of forced labor. Then in 2014, things went from bad to worse.
A 24-year-old woman disciple who was with the Nitya ashram for 4 years has been found dead.
The woman was found lifeless inside his retreat. Swami insisted it was from natural causes, but the victim's parents suspected foul play. By now, the accusations against him were overwhelming. It seemed inevitable that Swami would end up behind bars. But he had other plans. He went on the run. After his disappearance, Swami became a wanted man in India. Years passed without a trace. Then in 2019, he resurfaced on social media. He had big news. Swami declared he created his own country, the Republic of Kailasha. He called himself its prime minister. Kailasha had its own central bank, passports, and national anthem. But one detail didn't add up. Nobody knew where Kailasha actually was. Some doubted it was even real. Swami continued posting on social media but never revealed his location. Meanwhile, his followers kept promoting Kailasha, trying to make it look like a legitimate country. In 2023, Kailasha even sent someone to the United Nations meeting.
I'm here representing the United States of Kailasa. I'm the permanent ambassador.
The UN ignored her, but the cult kept pushing to get Kailasha recognized as a real country.
They have been actively trying to meet diplomats and other world leaders.
Today, Swami is still in hiding. To critics, he's a fugitive, but to his followers, he's a divine ruler building a new world. And until he's found, both his cult and his so-called country will continue. This next cult attacked innocent people, the Rajneesh movement. Most cults are dangerous because of their outrageous beliefs, but the Rajneesh movement said all the right things. They preached love, peace, and freedom, but when outsiders challenged them, they became violent, and they made a move that almost wiped out hundreds of innocent people. The Rajneesh movement began in India. It was founded by a man named Rajneesh. In 1976, he opened a retreat in West India. His goal was to create a place where people could practice meditation and achieve spiritual growth. His timing couldn't have been better. The 1970s were the height of the hippie movement.
A lot of rebellious hippies sort of looking for something
different than the status quo.
Many young people were tired of traditional religion and authority. Rajneesh gave them a new kind of spirituality. He preached about becoming a new man, someone who could find inner freedom through accepting and rising above desire. His message attracted thousands to his retreat.
Open, loving environment, and everyone's meditating all day, and everyone's hugging, and it's just very open.
Life inside the retreat was peaceful, but outside, Rajneesh's message was making enemies. Rajneesh rejected traditional religion. He believed that every person could find their own way to spiritual enlightenment, but that philosophy didn't sit well with some radical people in India. To them, his teachings were offensive. Eventually, someone decided to shut him up permanently. In 1980, an extremist tried to assassinate Rajneesh. He survived, but the attempt convinced him to leave India for his safety. He wanted a place where he and his followers could live freely without fear of persecution. In 1981, he found it. He and his followers moved to America. There, they bought a 60,000-acre ranch near Antelope, Oregon. It was going to be their safe space. The land was empty, but Rajneesh's followers transformed it. They built homes, restaurants, and even an airport.
They had, quite simply, built an entire city from scratch.
They called the city Rajneeshpuram. For a while, it worked. They were self-sufficient, peaceful, and isolated. But in 1984, the cult was in trouble again. There was conflict between Rajneesh and his neighbors in surrounding towns. The American locals wanted the cult gone. They claimed Rajneesh didn't have permission to build a city on that land. But Rajneesh's followers refused to leave. Tensions were at a breaking point. The locals took the matter to court, hoping to get the cult evicted. The commune's survival depended on the authorities' decision. And that's when Rajneesh's inner circle hatched a desperate plan. The plan came from a woman named Ma Sheila. She was one of Rajneesh's top leaders. She was also one of the most ruthless. Sheila's plan was simple: get the cult's members elected to local government. That way they could use their authority to prevent the commune from getting evicted. Luckily, there was an upcoming election in the country. 2 followers agreed to run for office, but victory was nearly impossible. They just didn't have enough votes to win. The surrounding towns had way more registered voters, and almost all of them would vote against Sheila's candidates. So Sheila decided to take a darker route. She would win by making local residents too sick to show up to vote. Before the election, Sheila and her team visited restaurants in the area. Then they purposely contaminated salad products with salmonella bacteria. The plan worked. Hundreds fell violently ill. A few almost lost their lives.
45 people received hospital treatment.
At the time, that event was considered the largest bioterror attack in American history. Local residents suspected that Rajneesh's people were behind the attack. Before long, police traced the source of the outbreak back to the cult. Ma Sheila was sentenced to 4.5 years for the salad attack. Then the police went after Rajneesh himself. He denied knowing about the attack, but that didn't save him. Rajneesh was deported back to India in 1986. Back in India, Rajneesh and his followers continued the cult. He passed away in 1990, but the Rajneesh movement still operates in India, run by his remaining disciples. This next cult was created by a computer scientist in Silicon Valley, the Zizians. The Zizians are one of the most violent cults in modern history. Their philosophy can be summed up in one belief: violence is the answer.
Zizians would believe that, the end justifies the means. So if the means mean, well, so be it.
The end justifies the means. For them, that phrase wasn't a metaphor. If you wanted something, you took it. If someone stood in your way, you removed them. If that meant breaking the law or even taking a life, it didn't matter. The cult was created by a woman named Jack Lazota, but she called herself Ziz. Around 2016, Ziz began posting long blogs about her philosophy. She wrote that violence can be excused in service of the greater good. She also fantasized about what would happen if society were to strip away morality. Her extreme ideas attracted a devoted online following. They met in chat rooms, then later in person. Over time, Ziz's supporters began calling themselves Zizians. What started as one woman's blog was now a cult that glorified violence. In 2020, several Zizians moved into a trailer park in California. They had no plans to pay rent. When the landlord demanded payment, they ignored him. When he tried to evict them, they fought back. They just lived there illegally, refusing to leave.
Despite his best efforts, Lind remained unable to remove the Zizians for years.
Eventually, the landlord took them to court and won. A judge issued an eviction order against the Zizians. That's when the Zizians decided to act on their own violent beliefs. 2 days before the eviction, they attacked the landlord. It was brutal. Then they fled the trailer park, believing they ended the landlord, but they hadn't. Another tenant found him and rushed him to the hospital.
He had to be hospitalized for a month, but he made it. He survived.
When the Zizians heard the landlord was still alive, they were furious. And although they were wanted by the police, they wanted to finish the job. So the Zizians risked everything, came back to California, and jumped the landlord again. This time, he didn't survive. But that was just the beginning of the Zizians' crime spree. In Pennsylvania, one member allegedly ended her parents. Another Zizian ended a U.S. Border Patrol agent in Vermont. She did it because the officer stopped her for a routine inspection. Soon, the Zizians were responsible for multiple crimes across 3 states. But living as fugitives wasn't as easy as they imagined. Law enforcement made them a top priority. By early 2025, 4 Zizians were captured. One was the cult founder herself, Ziz.
A person named Jack Lasota, who goes by the name Ziz online, was arrested yesterday in Maryland.
The remaining Zizians went into hiding. Police are still searching for them. Their blogs and forums are still active. Their violent ideology is still being shared. Even with their leader in custody, the cult is still operating in the shadows. My friends, manipulation doesn't always look evil. Sometimes it looks like community. Sometimes it looks like healing. Sometimes it even looks like love. But if someone isolates you from your family, empties your bank account, and threatens you if you try to leave, that's not love. That's evil. Visual venture. Well, thank you guys for listening to my sick voice. I think I'm gonna need a break. But if you guys thought these cults were bad, I talk about cults that take things even further. Some manipulated children and others were murderers. To watch the most disturbing cults on the internet, click right here. Love you guys. Peace.